Is continuing its up and down sideways move, leaving everybody guessing and wondering what's going to happen as we come into the weekend. Today is Thursday, September 23rd of 2021. What can you expect this weekend? And I want to show you a little something that I've been studying in the charts that's kind of lining up and giving me sort of an indication of where we could potentially be going over the next couple of days in this weekend. So we'll jump into the charts. We've had a couple of green days here last couple of days. We had a nice day yesterday. A lot of the altcoins were up 10%, some of them 20, 30%. We kind of have the same thing going on today. Have a lot of green in the altcoins. Bitcoin's up a little bit, but the altcoins, some of them are ripping, which could be a good sign and could be somewhat of a warning sign as well, since the altcoins will generally lag Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin tops, the altcoins top, and then bull market over. So we're seeing several of the altcoins rip to close to previous highs, a couple of them to all-time highs, and some of them are just bouncing around and ranging. But let me show you what I'm looking at in the charts. So this is the total altcoin chart, on the hourly. And you can see back here, this was our little dump that we had on September 7th time frame, and we dropped. September 7th, had a little bounce and moved up a little bit, came back down, ranged sideways again. Then we had another little dump, and then we rose up, and it looked like we were in the all clear. A lot of altcoins were ripping and running just like they're doing right now, and it looked like we were going to continue bull run back on. And what everybody was looking for right then was to get back to this previous area of resistance before the drop, back to this little continuation. And this has all been off the uphill run from July of this year. We've been uphill ever since, pretty much in the whole market until this point where we dumped, had a little bit of a bounce, drop, and then we came up, and it looked like a lot of people were thinking bull market back on, and we were off to all-time highs again everywhere. And some of the altcoins were doing that. Now this is the total altcoin market cap. So as you can see, we rose up, we had our little drop, we had a bounce, a little bit of downward sideways action, and then we had the big drop the other night. This takes us up to the 20th of September, which today's the 23rd. So that would, Monday, Tuesday when this happened, had a little bit of bounce, then we had another drop the next day. So the 20th and the 21st, we had a lot of action. That was that Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, we've been coming up. Today, we're coming up, and we had a little bit of a drop, and now we're coming up again. So the question is, are we going to continue? Is this going to continue? Where are we in the cycle? Well, let's take a look at the price action. So this point right here is exactly this point last week at this time, right about here. So if you go back and look at the price action last week at this time, Wednesday, Thursday, last week going into the weekend, we had just come off that big dump. We were bouncing back, looked like we were going to trend upwards. We trended back up to this level right here, which looked like continuation, and then tricked us. We had another little bounce, and downhill we went. So the question is, where are we right now? And let's look at this price action, because you're seeing it in the total altcoin market. You're seeing it in the Bitcoin market. This was our big drop, sideways down, sideways down. We started moving back up. Everybody was thinking this is it. We're going back to all-time highs again. And then we had a little bit of sideways with that one last pump that got everybody excited, and then bam, downhill. And this was the 18th. So this was last Thursday, Friday when this happened. So this little area right here where everybody thought it was safe to get back in, and we were going back up and reversing trend and continuing on with the uptrend, that's where it dumped on everybody. So that's kind of where we are right now. If you go back and look at Thursday of last week to Thursday of this week, you can kind of see a lot of similar price action going on. And even when you go back a couple of weeks ago, same kind of thing, where it sucks you in, drops on you, sucks you in again, and drops. So we could potentially be looking at that. Now that's Bitcoin. Here's Ethereum, same price action. Cardano, a lot of the large cap alts are all looking like the same price action. Solana is a little bit different because it went on that big run, but it still had those drops with the sideways drop, bringing you back up. making you think that it was going to continue back on and then bam, down. This point in the game here is right there, right where we are. So we saw that little pump. Same thing we had right here, had that little pump, little sideways action and down. So as we go into the weekend, you could potentially see continuation and a little bit of a drop. Now, we have had some coins, like I said, that have just run. And this is what was happening last week. And that's what led a lot of people to think, because you see this little spot right here, that's where we are right now with a lot of other coins. We are retracing this dump. So a lot of people are looking for continuation to break back to the highs before the main sell-off that we had back around the first part of September when it all started. So just understand that that's what everybody's looking at, and the price action is the same, but not every coin is doing this. There's just a couple of them that are ripping like this. And this is what happens. So you look at that rip in Cody, and then you look at XTZ, Tezos, and you think, wow, man, Tezos is right there. It's going to rip just like Cody did. And it doesn't necessarily happen. This is the point where they suck you in, and then they give you a little bit of hope, and then they reverse that price action, and it'll drop, bounce a little bit, and then drop. And that's where you get into that big downward momentum move that a lot of people got caught up in last week. So where do you want to be buying? You want to be buying down here. So what happens is right down here at these lows, when everybody thinks we're going to continue to get more downside and we had a little bounce, that's where the buying needs to take place, not up in here necessarily, unless we are in a full-on bull market and you have continuation to the upside. This is all the caveat to all this is we are in a downtrend right now. We have reversed that uptrend. So if we go back on the daily, this is the altcoin cap, total altcoin cap, not including Bitcoin. You know, since that July 21st bottom, we've been straight up pretty much since then with a little bit of sideways action here, but we've hit almost full retracement back into that, you know, not quite reaching all-time highs in the altcoin market cap, but we're close. And then we've dropped back down to this level here, about $1 million or $1 trillion in market cap, maybe a little bit below, depending on which exchange you're looking at for total crypto market cap and how they aggregate it, which indicator you're looking at. But it's right around that 1 trillion mark, and we've bounced off of that. So we could very well see another reversal, another leg down. The question is, where is it going to go? Where is it going to stop? And will it stop? And what you got to look at is where we came from and where we could potentially go back to. So it looks like we could see continuation back down to that 1 trillion mark again. If you look at Bitcoin, same kind of thing. Bitcoin's been on an upwards trend since July. We had the drop, a little bit of pump, drop. This is where they suck you in. This is where they suck you in. They suck you in here and drop, suck you in here, then drop. So right at this level at 39,000 is where you want to be buying in at for that reversal. And then you want to make sure that you protect yourself with stop losses and be prepared for that next drop. And the next level we're looking at is that $37,000 level. So that's where this swing reversal took place, where we had our first, on this reversal, our first low. So first higher low off the bottom. So it's reasonable to believe that we're going to go down and retest that $37,000 level again. If it holds, then we could see continuation to the upside, as long as we're putting in higher lows and higher highs off of that, like we've been doing here. Once you put in that lower high here and that lower low, lower high, lower low, that's when you know that this trend has been reversed. So that's what I'm talking about, this little minor trend reversal. And as a lot of people have been pointing out now, I talked about this a couple of months ago, that this price action here and this price action here, we're looking an awful lot alike. And I talked about that right back in this area before we rounded the top. Well, what's interesting is you can drill down to the hourly, and you can see where the hourly, see this little price action here into the spring. We had the drop, downward trend into the spring. So if you put this on the hourly, this price action starts to match up a little bit even on that, where it looks like you're kind of dropping down into a spring and you're kind of coming back up, and a little bit of sideways continuation there. So, and here's that price action right here, rounding a top to a dump. So even this low term price point into a spring right here on the hourly looks a lot like the daily time frame. So it's really interesting how this price action matches up in the markets all the way across the board with different assets, different types of price action, all doing pretty much the same thing. So this price action we're seeing now and all of the indicators would lead you to expect that we're going to continue down and retest that low again before where we had our swing low on the previous cycle before we reached this peak and started retesting. Not necessarily all the way back to the 21st of July lows, but somewhere in this level here, which is going to be around that $1 trillion mark again, maybe a little bit less for the total altcoin market cap. And if you look at the different coins on the daily, you'll see where that price action that you want to be watching out for on these things could potentially retrace to, like on Matic, for instance. This could very well retrace back to somewhere around 90 cents. Cardano could trace back to $1.80, somewhere in that price range. Ethereum could certainly test back down to 2,400. And then of course, Bitcoin testing back to 3,800. So this little first low that we put in after this upward trend reversal off the bottom, this first swing low right there. Well, this was a swing low here that we pivoted to, but that first drop after this first lower high right here, new lower high. And it's a lower high because until we get past 65, everything's a lower high, right? So in your macro, local market macro trend, not the entire cycle of Bitcoin, of course, but just this little trend here that we've had where we had our 65,000 all-time high, until you cross that, everything is a lower high. So we finally put in a higher lower high or a higher high on this micro trend here. Until that crosses 65, it's still a lower high, but it's a higher high here. So we reverse that, put in a lower high and a lower low, just like we did up here. That's your red flag, lower high, lower low, another lower high, another lower low, trend reversal. So here we've got lower high, we have lower low, another lower high, another lower low, trend reversal. So you have to expect that this is going to continue down. The question is, how far down is it going to go? Right now, 37,500 is the number to be looking for. If it holds there and continues up, then we can look at a trend reversal, another swing like this. That could be your macro bottom, boom, off to the bull run to continue and see where that balances out. A lot of people say 100,000, some say 75, 80,000. Some say that 65 is it, we're done, and we're going down into a bear market. And all of them have technicals that can back it up. All of them have fundamentals and on-chain analysis that can back up both sides of the argument. On-chain is looking good. Fundamentals are looking good. Price action is not. So you have to question if the fundamentals are great, if the technicals are great, if the on-chain analysis is great, everything is so strong. Why have we not been able to continue? And a number of reasons for that is just weakness in retail. Retail is not buying at this level. Institutions are not buying at this level. They're waiting for ETFs, trying to accumulate. This is an accumulation phase to mark up, to ultimately distribute, bring it back down, do it again. A lot of money to be made here, a lot more money being made this way than there is doubling price action. If you just double price action, you can't make near the profits that are being made right here with this type of price action here. This doesn't look like anything, but this has all been going on since the bottom here of May this year. So, May, June, July, August, September. So you're looking at 5 months. If this continues out through the rest of the year into next year, I mean, that's huge returns, huge gains that are being made right there by traders that are going long, going short, using leverage, and all of the futures that are being traded. A lot of money being made right here. Not as much money being made with the continuation of trend. That's why the altcoins are getting so much action, because they're spiking exponentially, 30% in a day, 20% in a day. So there's tons of money to be made with this kind of price action. So little incentive for price to continue, big incentive to keep it from dropping, but so much. So it doesn't look like the institutions and the whales are going to let it drop below 30 ever again. It could, if there's a big enough panic and a big enough situation in the stock markets. We talked about the other day, the Fed came out yesterday and said that they're going to taper before the end of the year, probably start in November. But again, it's very little. They're only pulling back just a minor amount, and still what they're still buying is more than they were buying after the 2009 financial crisis. So they're still putting a lot of liquidity into the market. So things are going to continue as status quo for a while. So just keep your eyes on the markets. As long as we don't have a huge continuation of the sell-off in the market, this is kind of how it works. We were down big the other day, up a little bit yesterday, up a little bit today. Might get a big sell-off tomorrow going into the weekend, or it could be relatively flat to come back over the weekend, see what happens in the Asian markets on Monday with the Evergrande situation and how much of a systemic event that is in the Asian markets. So still a lot of questions out there. So keep your eyes on the stock market. Keep your eyes on that price action. It's really, really interesting. What I'm expecting when you drill down to the hourly, and let's look at Bitcoin here on the hourly. I really feel like this point right here is setting up for the weekend for the same kind of price action right here, right in this level, right before that last weekend, where we had a little bit of a pump. And then we had that one little snap. I guess that was, yeah, right here. This was last weekend. So I feel like we may be right here at this point where we had that little pump. It kind of continues right here. So we just came off that pump, a little bit of price action sideways and then down over the weekend. This would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday last weekend where all this took place into Monday. Yeah, the 19th, 20th, all last weekend. So this is that pump right here that we just came off of. And we're sitting right here getting ready to go down. So I feel like that could be where we're at right now. We just came off this little pump. We're going into the weekend right here, and we could see another leg down. The good news is that leg potentially may just go down, like I said, and test this $37,000 swing low back here, 37.5, and then continue on up from there going into next week. So that's what I'm looking for over the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow for a quick update to kind of check and see how this thesis is working out. But that's what I'm seeing. It's looking exactly the same across all of the different altcoins. Bitcoin, Ethereum, total market cap, price action is looking identical. And it looks like that may be what they're setting us up for, trying to draw in as much retail as possible for the weekend and then dump that on them again and then do it all over. So it'll be fun to watch and interesting to see. And I will be back, get that fixed. So I'll be back on the next video and we will see how this works out.